Module 4, Lesson 2, Data Cleaning. So the next thing that you do is what we call the data cleaning. Let me just write here before I continue. It's called data cleaning. And so what happens at data cleaning is that, one, you check if there are missing values in your record. You don't want to work with missing records because they will end up giving you a false impression on the overall results. Because, for example, assuming you are performing a mean and you perform on a null record, that will end up giving a false impression and a false conclusion on the overall result, and we don't want to do that. So the first thing we do is that we do what we call data cleaning. And in data cleaning, we look for these null records and we can either fill them with the average of that particular column such that there will be no imbalance between the data, or if there are very few, what we can do, we can just plug them out from this record if they don't have the effect on the overall result. But suppose maybe you're working with the data with 20,000 records, and let us say 10,000 are blank. You cannot just remove them blindly like that because they will end up affecting the overall accuracy of your model. So what you do in this case, you calculate the mean of these columns that are blank and fill in this blank column and work like so. So the way we do, let me just write here, check blank records, like so. So the way we check blank records, number one, is that we use our file here and we write dot apply, and then we put these rounded brackets, and the first parameter here we just say lambda x, and then full colon. So what this lambda x means is like a placeholder. I'm just saying x is here, I'm going to use him in the next line of code that I'm going to write. So I've just defined an x here that is like a placeholder that I'm going to use. So what I want to do with this x is that I want to find the summation of all the blank records in this column. Like for example, if I come here, if I have a blank record in this country or region column, it will display for me that the country or region has 3 blank records. If I have a blank record in this score, it will display for me that score has 4 blank records. So let me just write the code so that you can be able to understand better. So the next thing I'm going to do after saying lambda x is to write this function sum, and then inside here I'll just say x dot is null. So what I'm saying here is that add all the records which are null in this case, and in this case I'm going to do axis equals 0, like so. If you can remember, while working with NumPy arrays, axis equals 0, it means check the columns, look column wise. If you can remember, while axis equals 1 means look row wise. But now since we are looking column wise, it will find all the summation of blank records and return that value. If I run this code, you can see now from this result that the overall rank, this column overall rank, has 0 null record, which is kind of very good. Also, if you consider all these other columns, they have 0 blank record. So this is a huge step when working with data in data science, because all your model will depend on your preparation of data. If your data is corrupted, you will end up having a very poor model. But if your data is well prepared, you will end up having a good data model. So assuming that we had several blank records in one of these columns, or let me say in several columns such as GDP per capita, let us assume that it had several blank records. So this is how we'll apply what we have learned in order to fill the blank records of this column. So let me just add a comment here and say, if we had blank records, let me just say records, let me just say e.g. GDP per capita. So what you will have done is simply to grab this guy right here, this guy by the name world happiness file. Let's just copy him down here. And so what I will do now, I've grabbed my file. Now I want to grab this column by the name GDP per capita. So I'll paste him right here inside these square brackets. And then I'll call this function by the name fill NA. What this means is that look at this column GDP per capita and check any blank record in this column, and if you find any blank record, fill it with anything that I'm going to pass inside here. And so inside here, what I'm going to do, let me just copy this guy here. I'm going to write like this, and then so since we want to fill with the mean of this column, so this function right here, world happiness file GDP per capita dot mean, returns the mean of this particular column. So it will return the mean of this particular column and fill every blank record with this mean. And the next parameter you need to pass here, just write in place equals to true. As simple as that, and you are good to go. Now if you run your code, nothing happens, but assuming we had several blank records here, this is how you'll have done in order to fill these blank records with mean. Usually I prefer filling this blank record with means rather than just removing them from the file that you're working with. So this is just the basic data cleaning process that you can do, but there are a lot much more you can do with data cleaning. But since this is just a beginner's foundation, it is good for you to start with this, and once you progress and understand better, you can then advance to more sophisticated method for data cleaning.